Today we got New Year's Revolution, another day in Occupy's New Year's Revolution, as it's called, a whole month of actions. Today we're going to be having a discussion on fracking. For those who don't know, fracking is a way for companies to do horizontal drilling instead of the regular vertical. So members of Occupy have put this presentation together, so let's see what they got, shall we?
Time and energy towards creating awareness and getting together and talking about it with the community. So neither of us are kind of experts on the topic. We've just kind of done our own research the best we could to inform people. So if anyone here has a lot of knowledge or knows about fracking and would like to contribute, at any time if you want to put up your hand, if you can add to the conversation, feel free to, and we'll definitely include you and your thoughts. So we definitely want everyone involved in this as much as we can, because yeah, we'll definitely help.
And we understand that some people here know a lot of things about fracking, and also understand some people here know nothing about it. So we're going to try to convey it, explain it to everyone in the best manner we can. And if anyone has anything to add at all, feel free to speak. So everyone
So I guess some of the stuff we're going to talk about is what the actual process of hydraulic fracturing is, the environmental ramifications, how it can affect our health, where it's happening in Nova Scotia, what we can do, and also we're going to have a discussion about other energy alternatives.
So maybe we want to know why would we start using hydraulic fracturing? The conventional older way of taking out natural gas and oil, where you have a reservoir and you just drill into that reservoir and extract that has been largely depleted in past generations. So now there's a new way of taking out unconventional oil and gas, and that's hydraulic fracturing. These unconventional gas and oil exist in small pockets in rock, shale, coal bed methane, tight sands, or shale. The difficulties of accessing large amounts of unconventional gas by drilling vertical wells led to the expansion of various production procedures. With the introduction of hydraulic fracturing and horizontal drilling, operators can now access a significantly larger area from one single well. The insufficient amount of environmental regulations on hydraulic fracturing make it economically profitable for petroleum companies to buy land permits and also buy huge amounts of water. So what is hydraulic fracturing? It is the combination of these multiple conventional drilling methods combined with horizontal drilling to access shale, gas, oil, this previously unavailable gas trapped in deep rock formations. This new unconventional drilling method uses huge amounts of water mixed with sand, radioactive tracers, and an undisclosed amount of chemicals. The reason that companies don't disclose it is for trade secrets. They don't want other companies knowing their secrets of fracking fluid, so they don't disclose all the chemicals that they use. Each drill can penetrate the earth up to 7,000 feet in depth, and then it turns horizontally under rock fissures where gas may be found. And this is just a schematic of what it is. You can see the water table is encased in a metal casing, so that casing separates the water table from the well, and then it goes down deep into the earth and then turns horizontally to where those shale fissures are. And the sand helps keep those fissures open when the water comes in with the chemicals and opens them with high pressures. And the radioactive tracers are there so that they can be followed from computers and things like that. So the method of drilling, there is a drill bit attached to, and there's a picture of the drill bit there, attached to a drill, and it's inserted into the ground. A surface casing is inserted just below the water aquifer to isolate the water table from the drill. When the target length is reached, cement is sent through the pipe, so sent through here, and then at the very bottom it goes and fills the space between the pipe and the outside rock. And then there's a perforating gun that inserts into the casing and shoots out. It's almost like tiny explosions that's going through the cement and the pipe. Water, sand, lubricants, and other chemicals are pumped into the wellbore at high pressures, forcing the shale to fracture. This is repeated in roughly 1,000 feet segments throughout the horizontal distance of the well. Standards. In the report fractured lines, It is noted that fracking of 10 shale gas wells in British Columbia's Horn River Basin required almost 1 billion liters of water. And if you look at how many chemicals, 2% of chemicals of that billion is equal to about 18 million liters of chemicals used. And that's an awful lot of chemicals. Between 10 to 40% of the fracking fluid injected into a well is recovered within 2 weeks of injection. Some of that fracking fluid is never recovered. A lot of the companies don't know where it goes, but we can estimate that that goes into other fissures in the rock and escapes either to the water table or some other underground conduits. Fracking wastewater is either stored in containment tanks, treated and reused for other frack wells, pumped back into depleted wells, and then capped, or it is shipped out of province for processing. This requires a lot more use of diesel and trucks for transportation, making more pollution.
That's an area where it's great.
When the government issues an exploration license, do they make a distinction between horizontal fracking and vertical, or are they free to do either one?
Well, it's really difficult to get something like hydraulic fracturing banned because it is a combination of multiple conventional drilling types. So it uses vertical fracturing and multiple well cluster pads and a bunch of other kind of conventional extraction methods. So it's hard to get hydraulic fracturing banned because it uses conventional extraction. But yeah, it's not profitable.
We have some more information about where it's happening, the permits given out coming up, and the government site isn't very clear on. They will say like a permit for shale gas exploration. They won't specifically say fracking, or they'll say it's for conventional. Some permits say it's for conventional extraction, and I think maybe it's because this word fracking and hydraulic fracturing has a lot of controversy, so it seems like they really avoid actually labeling it as hydraulic fracturing. So I'm not sure how the government actually distinguishes this between the companies, but they don't really tell the public a lot about the difference in permits that they're handing out, and that is kind of a problem. They're not really keeping us informed. And what you were saying about how the drill goes down and then goes horizontal, that, like you said, it makes it much more profitable because they can drill one well and then go down, and they can extract gas from like a huge, like hundreds of kilometers radius by one well, because it goes down and then across, and it can go up to like many, many kilometers. And then by them going down and across, instead of contamination just being at the one fracking site where they drill down, it can be all along those however many kilometers horizontally, and it can spring up 100 kilometers away from the actual fracking site. These chemicals can leach up into the water table because of that pipe going down and then creating fissures away. So I think by them opening the pockets, it kind of naturally, I guess, sorry, we don't have the exact scientific information on how that happens, but my understanding was that by them opening these cracks and fissures into the pockets with that high pressure, the natural gas is stuck there, but once they open those cracks, it has an escape, so it can escape through the cracks back up the well. So they pump the water down into the well, opens up these pockets, and then when the pockets open, it allows that natural gas and oil to flow up the well. I'm not sure if they need to use more pressure to pump it out. They might need to pump it out, but yeah, they use more.
No, they wouldn't, because the pressure that's being released is enough to send it back to the top.
Yeah.
Are they regulated to do tests on the quality of the water before they start the process and during the process?
I'm not sure if the government makes them do these water. I know that independent environmental groups have done what they call a baseline water. So a lot of groups near Lake Ainslie, the Margaree Environmental Association has done baseline testing. So they've already tested a lot of well water in the area. So now if they do frack, they can look at the water before fracking started and then look at it after and compare. I'm not sure if the government makes companies do that. I think that some of the companies do baseline testing themselves.
Due diligence.
Yeah, and so yeah, there is, especially in Lake Ainslie, I know for sure there is records of what the water is like now before they've started fracking. So after they frack, they can compare and say, well, these toxic chemicals level have increased from before.
And they also state the fact that Lake Ainsley has been drilled for oil and gas since 1800s. And so that makes this process okay then. They bring up these claims. So just to calm the public down, right?
But is that true?
They have
Yeah.
done more conventional drilling
Yeah, conventional
near Lake
drilling.
Ainsley, but this is like a new, unconventional, like much more like unsafe way.
And remember those little tributaries, they can go down straight, and when they go horizontally, they can go right under the friggin' lake.
Whereas before they would have just been drilling straight down into like a large pocket. And, it's definitely the horizontal drilling that changes the procedure and makes it more dangerous. Maybe we'll move on to how it pollutes other aspects of our environment and the water. So polluting our food. So they're doing this fracking in mostly like rural areas, which is also where our local food comes from. So if they happen to pollute the water table, like we said can potentially happen, that is polluting well water. And a lot of farms use well water to irrigate their crops as well as to nourish their animals. So if they're feeding their animals like cows and sheep and goats well water that is contaminated with chemicals, that's going to be passed on to the animals. And in the past, it has caused animals to become sick, to have a lot of animals have had miscarriages, as well as some have died from this. And also, if you think about if a farmer waters their crop with well water that is contaminated, I know that when you use liquid fertilizer on a plant, that plant absorbs that fertilizer. So I'm not certain, but I kind of assume that if these chemicals go in the soil, the plants are most likely going to absorb these chemicals as well and potentially pass that on to the food or kill the plants. I don't have proof of that, but that's kind of just how I understood that's how plants work. So just relating to animals being contaminated, in Pennsylvania, the Department of Agriculture quarantined 28 cattle from a farm 175 miles away from the fracking site. These animals had come in contact with wastewater that leaked from a nearby well, which showed concentrations of chlorine, barium, magnesium, potassium, and radioactive strontium. In Louisiana, 16 cows that drank fluid from a fracked well began bellowing, foaming, and bleeding at the mouth and dropped dead. So clearly, if animals drink or come in contact with this water, it's going to really affect them. And if we think about like our local food system, if animals are dying off from drinking this water, that's like food that we potentially could be eating, and we're not going to be able to. So that can definitely hurt the future of. So as well with farmland, like especially like for organic farmers who spend a lot of time nourishing their soil, like organic farmers that try not to use petroleum-based pesticides and fertilizers, put a lot of time into like composting, rotating crops, and more natural methods. And now, if they end up using contaminated well water on their crops, all that hard work and time is going to be ruined because they're going to be contaminating that soil. And both these pictures are from farms near Windsor, which they have a site near Windsor to do shale gas extraction. So these two beautiful farms here could potentially be destroyed if this process goes through. And just the fact that they're bringing in a lot of diesel-powered equipment, such as trucks and generators, to run all this equipment, they're bringing this into like an area that doesn't have a lot of industry. So they're creating a lot of air pollution just in the process of doing it, let alone the actual like extraction. Just all the equipment is putting a lot of pollution in the air, which that pollution then spreads. And on the next slide we have, so this is in Texas, a city called Dish. A lot of people in that city were experiencing symptoms such as nosebleeds, headaches, and dizziness. So they asked the petroleum company to investigate. The petroleum company said they didn't find any detectable emissions, so they used 15% of the city's budget to hire an independent environmental firm called Wolf Eagle